it wasn't necessarily pretty, but the Mariners took the series versus the Sacramento Athletics, coming back home from the bad road trip in Philadelphia. The the offense wasn't really there for the first two games, but it exploded in the third game, along with some pretty special moments for Cal and for Logan Gilbert. We're going to talk about this series, and then we're going to talk about the potential for the Mariners to add some guys to their bullpen moving forward and who those additions might be, including an old familiar face. We're going to give you our FanDuel favorites before we talk about the San Diego Padres series starting on Monday. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 219 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel. And this is the Dylan Moore, the Cal Raleigh, and most importantly, the everybody that we met at the Mariner Mojo meetup the other day.
The Mojovians. Shout out y'all for coming out again. Second meetup of the year. There's some new faces. There's some returning cast members. Well, we're grateful and thankful for everyone that did come out. The first loss in Mojo meetup history. Had a chance to be 4-0 with 3 walk-offs, but the Mariners couldn't get it done in the second game against the Athletics. Before we get there, we do have to talk about the first game, which, there's going to be a common theme across all 3 of these games, is that the starting pitching was stellar in all 3. Like, mainly the first and the third one. Like, George did pretty good in the second. There was, I looked later, some of the zone at the bottom, he was getting squeezed a little bit. But Brian Wu, 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts in this one, limiting the Athletics after the first inning. Gives up 1 run and then starts mowing guys down, similar to the White Sox start just a couple weeks ago. Get the Mariners. I mean, you know what? I don't want to take your thunder here. I'll let you say what this specific win was, but 3 solo home runs, you do pretty good job there. That's all you need. Munoz a little shaky, but ultimately it does lead to a 3-2 victory, which was
the nicest win of the year, Joe. Win 69, nicest win of the year. The boys wanted to wait until they got back home to win game number 69. The same reason that Cal wanted to wait to break the home run record until they were back home as well. But before we could talk about that home run record, we have to talk about game 2, which again, you mentioned was the Mariner Mojo meetup day. And this game got off to an okay start, right? The Athletics ended up scoring a run in the 4th inning. The Mariners got that run back in the 6th with a home run from Randy Arozarena. And it was kind of nothing there. A little bit of this. We did that at the meetup. Mm-hmm. It was just nothing there. It was a pretty boring game. The Mariners were only able to scratch 3 hits across versus the Athletics, and the Athletics were able to drive in a run in the 10th inning, and the Mariners weren't able to capitalize on maybe some bad execution on a bunt. Just a lot of issues there in extra innings for the Mariners. But nonetheless, I mean, Jeffrey Springs just continues to tear up the Mariners every single time he faces them. I think he's allowed 2 runs on the year to the Mariners in 3 starts. George Kirby in this one, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. He did struggle with his command a little bit, but sounds like, Joe, his strike zone was getting a little skibbity.
A little skibbity with the strike zone there. The bottom of the zone, if you looked at the umpire card, is like the top, like I think inside corner to lefties, outside corner to righties, and then bottom of the zone just in general was very, very spotty all night. It was the return of Victor Robles and the, Viking funeral send-off for Dylan Moore. It's a weird, bittersweet thing because like he shouldn't have been on this team for the last month or so, but he was past tense. Was the longest tenured Mariner. I mean, he has cleared waivers like conditionally, and he's free to sign with any team as a free agent at this point in time. So Robles gets activated, has not started serving his suspension yet. There's an appeal process going on for it. I imagine if it does get reduced, it'll get reduced by a game or 2. Instead of the 10 games, he could have an 8-game suspension. But whenever that does happen, he will need to serve it, and Mariners will be down a man on the 26-man roster, or if it does go into September, they'll be down a man during the September call-up portion where you do get an extra position player. But regardless, Robles in his first game back did hit like a line drive right over Jacob Wilson's head at shortstop. He did get a glove on it. It was like 97 miles an hour for his first hit since, the very beginning of the year. Made a nice play out in right field. Had a really awful, terrible, never should do it ever again. Why would you do that? Bunt. Yeah, there's some conversation to happen there with like Raleigh in the on deck circle. Do they want to bunt Robles over? Like, do they want to have Robles bunt over because Polo walked? Like, it's a whole big mess, and we know, and I think everyone is largely in agreement that bunting is bad unless it works.
Then it's good.
But then it's good. But largely, 99.9% of the time, it is bad, and that's kind of what cost you this game. And when it's all said and done.
There's nobody I trust on this team more to get down a bunt and get down a good one than Luke Raley. You go to Luke Raley there. I don't understand why especially Victor, obviously coming off of the injured list. He's never really been a great bunter to begin with. Luke, we know how good he is at bunting. He hasn't been performing at the plate, but he's a great bunter. And I really would have thought that if you would have went to Luke there, he would have gotten that one down. But nonetheless, I mean, it is what it is. This is one of those games you look back on at the end of the year if you miss by a game and you're like, yep, that's one of them that you probably should have won. You probably should have swept this series versus the Athletics, especially coming off the bad road trip. You kind of needed it, and Game 3 felt like a must-win game. It was a must-win game to make sure that you don't have a bunch of must-win games at the end of the year. A little bit of inception there. Like, if you win this game, at least you feel a little bit better towards the end of the year where you don't have so many must-win games, right? If you would have lost today, no? Is this metaphor getting weird?
It's just like long convoluted similes, like,
I'll let you know when it's going to rear one of their ugly heads. Anyway, the Mariners got off to a real hot start in this one. They scored in the first 3 innings, putting up 11 runs, all 11 runs, in fact, in those first 3 innings. And of course, Cal Raleigh comes up and hits a big 2-run home run with Randy Arozarena on first base. And he ties Salvador Perez, Joe, for the most home runs in a single season by a catcher. It was a really cool moment, and I picked a great time to go on lunch. I was able to see both of them while I was on lunch from work, so it was perfect.
Well, good for you, and good for Jake. Jake was there. Shout out, Jake. He tweeted the Dokes meme at us saying like the I can't explain it Dokes meme from Dexter about the bats not showing up during the Mariner Mojo meetup. Listen, Jake, we just wanted to make sure you had a great time at the park on Sunday, so I'm glad you got to witness history. Cal, that second homer, sets a major league record, most home runs by a catcher in a single season at 49. He, without a doubt, will get to 50. He still has a chance to chase down the switch hitter record, which is Mickey Mantle at 54. If he gets to 57, he'll pass Griffey. I mean, you could keep pushing. If he gets to 63, he'll pass Judge. Like, there are benchmarks that we're going to continue to see Cal break even more history and set even more records. But it wasn't just Cal that set a record in this one. Logan Gilbert set a career high with strikeouts, 13 punchies in this one. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 13 strikeouts for the tall man. I think 25 whiffs. Like, dude, like elite level nasty that we know he's capable of, and the home splits definitely say that. It's just getting that consistency on the road is going to be key for the Mariners, but it's nice to see every single starter, maybe not George as much, but Wu and Gilbert remain as consistent as we needed them to be at home to start this 6-game road trip. Homestand.
Whoa. Logan was coming off of one of the worst starts of his entire career. Obviously going just 2 innings in that Philly start. You needed it from him today. And he was talking about in an interview with Shannon Dreyer, or maybe it was with Ryan Divish, but that Cal just likes to steal the spotlight. Logan, most strikeouts in a single game for him in his career, and Cal decides to set Major League Baseball history. Cool, Cal. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Logan's like, yeah, he's just kind of a diva, obviously joking around, they're best friends. But, yeah, this game overall, I mean, this is the exact kind of offensive explosion that you needed after what we've seen from this team for the past, 10 days or so. Unfortunately, it took until Game 3, because at first, those first 2 games, scoring only 3 runs. This lineup, in my opinion, should never score less than 2 or 2 or less ever in a single game. just with how good this lineup is. And that's exactly what they did in game 2, unfortunately. But you mentioned Victor Robles coming back and just some of the interesting, I guess, roster decisions the Mariners have made here. It felt like it was pretty planned with this one and the 2 lefties in a row. Victor comes up and then he starts his appeal process on the weekend, where they're probably not doing appeals on the weekend. They're probably waiting until Monday. You get Victor back in this one. And I mean, he did play a big role in both games, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Dylan Moore, appreciate everything that he did for this team over the past, 7 years or 8 years, whatever it's been. But it was time for him to go. It's an unfortunate reality of the situation. That's just what had to happen. But the Mariners are looking at maybe adding some more guys to this bullpen, including, Joe, the potential for Emerson Hancock to be joining the Mariners bullpen. He has been pitching in relief down in Tacoma as of late, and he topped out at 99.1 miles an hour. 99.1 miles an hour today in his perfect inning of relief. That is something with Emerson Hancock, and I feel like I've been saying it for a long time. His stuff seems like it diminishes as he goes later into starts, but he just seems like a guy that 1 or 2 innings pitched, he could be electric. We saw it in the Futures game a couple years ago, how good he was in just a couple of innings. Like, if you can have him go out there with how nasty his stuff can be and the movement that he can get on his pitches, I think that having Hancock in a relief role makes a lot of sense.
And there's also expendable spots in the bullpen right now. The Sar and Lau. I mean, there's no disrespect to the guys that we're naming, but like you think about the Mariners bullpen and where there might be some shortcomings with it. Sar and Lau, Taylor Saucedo. I mean, Carlos Vargas, like, he's been iffy. He has great moments. He's very up and down. Whether or not you're going to get good Carlos Vargas, or whether you're not going to get the Vargas trade or the Gino trade, Carlos Vargas, right? Like, that's really, like, there are 2 wolves inside of Carlos Vargas. One is the Carlos Vargas trade. One is the Gino, the Gino trade. That's how that works.
Right.
There's room for improvement. And if there's a guy who was once a top pitching prospect in your organization who has the ability to get up to 99 in a single inning. I mean, in the first outing where he appeared in relief, I think it was on Thursday, he got up to 98 and average was like 90 in like 97. That's valuable. And whether or not they have him abandon pitches, like they just have him go fastball changeup or fastball changeup slider or fastball slider sweeper, like there's a variety of things that the Mariners can do with Emerson Hancock. In the big leagues so far this year, his only pitch with a positive run value on Baseball Savant is his fastball, which is kind of surprising to me. Just given like what we've thought about Emerson Hancock for years is that his fastball isn't going to play. But this year it has a run value of 3, a batting average against of 203, a slugging of 391, a whiff percentage of 24.2, a K percentage of 22.9. Like, and that's when his average velo is at 94.6 in the bigs. Sure, you're going to, he threw that thing 332 times. He's only going to throw it 16 times at a maximum, probably every single inning, right? If like he's going over like 22 pitches, if he abandons certain other like pitches in his arsenal. If that plays up, I don't even think it has to sit 99. He can hit 99, but I imagine it'll sit 97. It can work, and that's something that can be valuable. The hard part is just figuring out what the secondary pitch that he should go to is, because his slider has a -2 run value. Sinker has a -3. The changeup, which was heralded for a long time as like, yeah, this could be his go-to pitch, -6 run value on the season. Sweeper, -3. Like, I don't know what the secondaries look like for Hancock, but again, the velo ticking up is a very good sign for positive things to potentially come.
Emerson Hancock was potentially going to be like a top 3 guy in the draft. He fell to the Mariners. I believe he was picked 6th overall by the Mariners in 2020. And his scouting grades when he was picked, yeah, he had a 65 grade fastball. The fastball was what the Mariners were dreaming on when they got him out of the draft. And unfortunately, it has just declined. His velo's dropped. It hasn't had as much movement throughout his time in the professional system. And if he's able to get back to having that 65 grade curve or fastball, which was his best pitch according to his scouting grades, I think that is what makes Emerson Hancock valuable, because that's what the Mariners always wanted out of him. Now, he's not the only one, because there is potential that Gregory Santos could be back on this team in mid-September. Now, Santos has had a very interesting Mariners tenure. Obviously, when he first came over in the Prelander-Baroa trade, he was injured, and he didn't get to pitch with the Mariners for a while. And we thought maybe he'd be ready to go for the start of, was it last season?
Yeah.
And then it ended up costing him a little bit of time, and he didn't come back till later because he got hurt in spring training or something. I don't remember, but his injury history for Gregory Santos has been rough, but it sounds like we might be getting him back here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, on sometime, probably like a couple, like 3 or 4 days ago at this point, Hollander said that Santos was throwing bullpens in Arizona. Santos posted a video on Instagram, like on his story of him throwing a bullpen down in Arizona. Like, I think that was like 3 or 4 days ago at this point. And that the quote from Hollander is that he could potentially be on a rehab assignment soon and could be back in the majors in September. Now, for Santos, the struggles at the beginning of this season, he just wasn't striking anybody out. I mean, literally, he didn't strike a single batter out. In the
Wait, really?
Yeah, 7 innings pitched. I mean, sure, 7 innings. But he recorded 21 outs, didn't record a single strikeout. Whereas like
how good his stuff is.
Yeah, and like his last full season in 2023, 66 and third, 66 strikeouts. So it's like he has the stuff. I just don't know if there was a level of command that was the problem, or it doesn't have the same run or the same velo. Like, it's tough to say. I mean, he's a guy that's always thrown hard, and the erraticness of Santos has definitely been an issue. And we knew that when we acquired him. It's like, yeah, we saw what they were able to fix with Matt Brash, and we were like, yes, they can do that again with Gregory Santos. And it just hasn't happened yet. I don't know if this is crazy. I'm more excited about the potential for what Hancock can bring than what Santos can bring, because I've seen Hancock at least be consistent enough to stay competitive. Gregory Santos hasn't shown that it feels like there's a less chance than a coin flip for Gregory Santos, whether he gets it or doesn't. Whereas like Hancock, I could see it going either way. I just don't know what to make out of him. And I'm surprised that it was arthroscopic. That's a tough word to say. Arthroscopic? I think I nailed it the second time. Did I say scarpic the first time? That was weird.
Yeah,
that was weird. Hey, you know what?
You know what?
Take it on the chin. We move on.
That's right.
Like it never happened. He had knee surgery this year. What happened? I don't know why the gas station guy would say that. And the fact that he's even making a comeback and he's going to potentially be pitching and like be available in the bigs in September is so surprising to me. One, on the idea that they trust him enough to do it. I would say like, hey man, you just take the rest of the year to make sure you're 100% right. We'll see you in 26. Mm-hmm. Maybe the bullpen's in that, like desperate of help. So I don't know if we'll see both. I'd be interested to see if it is Hancock and Santos for the last 3 weeks of the season in the bullpen. I mean, Hancock could be up on the road trip. Mm-hmm. He could be up tomorrow for all I know.
That's the thing, is like with the way that with rosters expanding soon, I think there is truly a chance that, they have Hancock come up in place of like Sarin Lau, at some point. And then when rosters expand in September, you say, okay, you're back, Santos, like get in there. And I don't honestly think they would use him in any leverage roles, at least not yet. But they might use him in, maybe some mop-up duty or a big lead like they used with Sauce today. Also good on Sauce, by the way, for going out there and finishing the game today after, his time in Philly. Mm-hmm. That was good to see. But yeah, I think it's interesting. There are other names. I mean, Troy Taylor's terrible this year. He's been really bad in AAA. He has a 7.07 ERA in AAA in 35 innings. Like, he's been really, really bad. And obviously we know he wasn't good at the big league level this year either. So I don't know what's going on with Troy Taylor. Hopefully he can get that figured out. But those two guys specifically feel like guys that could be impacting this bullpen sooner rather than later, especially for a team like the Mariners that in the last road trip had to use a lot of their bullpen for basically every game in Philly, Like none of the starters went long. The longest was Bryce with 5 innings pitched. Like that series specifically just taxed the hell out of the bullpen. And I think that being able to add a couple of fresh arms would do them really, really well moving forward.
There's only one other name in the Mariners organization that I think could potentially be a sneaky-ish bullpen name down the stretch, and it's someone that up west, Gavin, has been on since the very beginning of the season, was Michael Hobbs. He was in the Dodgers system previous to joining the Mariners this offseason, and he's pitched to basically a 2 ERA in Arkansas the entire season. His FIP isn't great. It's in the high 3s, but I mean, they called up Troy Taylor last year after he was pitching very well in Arkansas. They called up Juan Burgos earlier this year after he was pitching very well in Arkansas. If they don't like what they see out of Gregory Santos, if Hancock doesn't necessarily work out, or when rosters expand in September, maybe Hobbs is a name that they could take a flyer on just for see what he has for an inning or so. And then if you like the stuff, if you like the composure on the mound, roll him back out there again. Because Taylor's been awful, like you said. Kowar, it's like Kowar and Legumina are legitimately Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. One inning, they might look like they could be leverage innings for the rest of their career. And then the next time out, they are cooked. Joe Jacques, nothing. He's been nothing. He's been awful in AAA. And then Domingo Gonzalez, also another guy that they got from the Braves, claimed off waivers, hasn't been good either. I don't know. He's been okay. I don't know.
They also claimed Michael Fulmer, right? That was someone that they claimed. I don't think that's going to be anything, but it's just worth mentioning. They did claim Michael Fulmer, and he could be something at some point. And I guess
Colin Snyder too. There are names. A lot of them just aren't fun.
And for a lot of you folks that haven't been here for a long time, we call that the pile. The pile of relievers that the Mariners have at all times. It's just stable of guys, and they're like, pick one out of a hat. Yep. Oh, Colin Snyder, you're coming to the big leagues, buddy. That's just kind of the way the Mariners, with how their development staff has treated the bullpen, how the front office has treated the bullpen. That's kind of the way it's been. You have guys that are going to be up and down, and you're just going to kind of switch them out. And personally, Joe, I don't think that I would bet.
I was going to say it's
on Gregory's.
I was going to say it's not one of your favorites.
It's not one of my favorite. The idea of Gregory Santos coming back isn't one of my favorites. But my FanDuel favorites, Joe, Cal Raleigh, to lead the world, the entire baseball world, by the way, in home runs, is now at -220 over on FanDuel. And he's ahead of, instead of Kyle Schwarber, it's now Shohei Ohtani at +360. Shohei hit a home run. It was a pretty good one. He hit the home run, and then he came by and high-fived a Padres fan that was heckling him. It was pretty funny.
Nice.
But yeah, and so Cal, obviously, with the 2 home runs, he's 1 away from 50. He set the record for catchers. He's 4 ahead of Shohei Ohtani. I think that Cal, he feels like a safe bet. Although Shohei Ohtani, I mean, is the kind of guy that can go on a tear all of a sudden and hit, 5 home runs in a week. That's the kind of player that Shohei Ohtani is. But I think that Cal is the guy moving forward. And if he is over the hump now of having to tie and break Salvi's record, hey, you passed it. That was the big one. Passing Mickey Mantle obviously would be incredible. But you have now the most home runs by a catcher in a single season ever. More than Johnny Bench, you know what I mean? More than, of course, Salvi Perez. That's huge. And yeah, Mickey Mantle, passing him would be great. I think that Cal will. He's only 5 away from tying Mickey Mantle's record for switch hitters. And I mean, shoot, if he can hit 14 more, all right, hit 63. What's up, Aaron Judge? What MVP who? Omega Law?
Yeah.
I think Cal's the guy.
I wonder what Cal's odds were before today's game and then after. So I didn't get a chance to look, but Judge for the MVP right now is still the favorite at -195. Cal's at +135. I want to say that those odds earlier in the week were probably closer, +300, +400. And that's the thing, is if Cal gets on a hot stretch, which we saw earlier in the season. I mean, you mentioned Ohtani's a guy that can hit 5 home runs in a week, 6 home runs in a week, whatever. Cal did that, and he's done that plenty of times. Not even just this year, but he's done that in the past too, where he's a guy that can get real hot. And mentioning the passing of Salvi, maybe he can unhitch the trailer. Like, the monkey's off his back now. He doesn't have to worry about it. That's something, another layer of stress. Sure, maybe he's not super focused on that. He's probably, I'd prefer him if he was focused on the idea of trying to make in the postseason, not the home run chase. And I'm not saying that I think he is, but just in the sentiment that I'm trying to get across here, Cal seems like a guy that maybe with a little bit less stress involved, he could get hot. And then the plus 135 for the American League MVP, it's not a far cry out there. Like, it's not too far out there. I think Cal still has a really good chance if he does continue. He probably has to pass Mickey Mantle at a minimum to have a chance at the MVP, realistically. But like I mentioned, get into the postseason. That's the thing that I want more than Mickey. Cal doesn't hit another home run the rest of the season. I don't care so long as they make the postseason.
With that being said, World Series odds have shifted. The Mariners at plus 1,100, which I feel like it's been kind of similar.
Yeah.
Throughout. Interesting to note, the Astros are at plus 1,300. And so they think that the Astros will win the division. However, they don't think they'll win the World Series. They think if the Mariners can get into the playoffs, they have better odds than the Astros to win the World Series, according to FanDuel.
And the Mariners have the third best odds in the American League behind the Tigers at plus 850 and the Blue Jays at plus 1,000. That's remained relatively consistent. And I think that there's roster makeup and the understanding of what works in the postseason and what doesn't all the time. And that I think can carry some of how the odds are projected. Like the Padres, for example. Yes, they are the fourth best odds in the National League. They're the sixth best odds in total, plus 1,000. They've got a great bullpen. Great bullpens can also lock down games in the postseason, and they've got star players that can go off in the postseason as well. I think the Padres right ahead of the Mariners at plus 1,000. It makes sense in my head for where both teams currently stand, but coming into this series where the Padres are coming to town, Mariners swept them when they were in San Diego last. Mariners are the favorites on Monday. Mariners money line at minus 126. The over-under in this game at 7.5. The only time that hit in this most recent series against the Athletics was the Sunday finale where everything went crazy. And I understand that it's Bryce Miller versus JP Sears. There's maybe not a super favorable pitching matchup. I've got a couple things to say about it. My first one is to hit a home run odds. Josh Naylor is being slept on at plus 520. Hit a home run off Sears in Sacramento when he was still with the Athletics. And Naylor's, I need to pull this up just to make sure I have the number right. Naylor at home in Seattle. This just in the month of August, a 250 WRC plus in Seattle. Dog does not miss in Seattle. I would if I could. Listen, that'd be one of my FanDuel favorites. But the under 7.5, listen, I would take that one too, because the Padres have allowed the second lowest runs in all of baseball. They have the second best team ERA in all of baseball. You know who has the lowest amount of runs allowed? Just for fun?
Ooh.
The Rangers. Because their pitching's been so good all year.
Yeah, but their offense been so bad.
Yeah. But this first game, Bryce Miller versus JP Sears, again, it's a lefty. That sucks. I hope Victor Robles is able to play, especially given that the news about like Dom Canzone, like whether or not like he's still feeling a little bit banged up. I don't know if I want to see Raleigh against JP Sears out there starting right field. So that's a bit of a, I guess like an iffy situation there. The current state of the roster is kind of crazy, by the way. Donovan Solano's the backup third baseman. Cole Young's the backup shortstop. Like things are getting wild in Seattle. But kicking off the series against the Padres, against a familiar face in JP Sears, I like the Mariners' chances in game one.
JP Sears has made 2 starts on the year. He started March 30th. So 2 starts versus the Mariners. Sorry. 2 starts versus the Mariners specifically. His first one, March 30th. He went 6 2/3, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and struck out 7. He ended up with the loss in that game. And that was obviously really early on in the season. He then faced the Mariners again on July 28th, where he went 4 1/3, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned. He did strike out 6, but he walked 3, and he got the loss in that one as well. the Mariners have handled Sears so far this year, and I think that this team is better now than it because now they have Gino, of course, and makes the team a little better. This team is better now than it was the last time that they faced JP Sears, and you really don't want to get into the bullpen too quickly versus the Padres. You would like to probably do most of your damage versus JP Sears, and like you said, the Mariners have done a little bit of damage. Julio has a home run in 28 at bats versus JP Sears. He's hitting 143, but still. Cal Raleigh is in 15 at bats, has a home run off of JP Sears. Mitch Garver in 13 at bats, a home run off of Sears. And of course, like you already mentioned, Josh Naylor with the home run off of Sears. Looking at the Padres versus Bryce Miller, they haven't really faced him. Ryan O'Hearn's the guy that's facing the most, 11 at bats. He's hitting 182. I mean, nothing really to write home about there versus Bryce Miller, just because obviously it's a National League opponent. You don't play him very often anyway, and Bryce is relatively young. But yeah, I think I really like the Mariners in game one. I think Bryce is going to come out and do the job. He looked decent. He had the best start in Philadelphia. I think that getting back on the home mound, you can really rely on Bryce Miller. But in game two, we know how good Luis Castillo has been at home. Dylan Cease having a rough year this year. Great strikeout pitcher, but having a rough year. 6-11 with a 4.71 ERA, Joe. Right-handed pitcher, which is good for the Mariners. Get the lefties back in there. But I don't know. I think that in terms of that matchup, I like the Mariners pitching side more than I do the Padres.
You'd be silly to not say that. Dylan Cease has an ERA of 5.65 on the road in 2025. Luis's home ERA is 2.0 something or 2.41 or something like that.
Cease is going 7, Shuddy.
So just as, traditional statistics would show, that's what's going to happen. This series to me feels like the two offensive additions could decide a lot going on here. Laureano's been red hot. I mean, he's having a fantastic season. This is this is kind of like a breakout season in a contract year. So, I mean, he's probably going to get paid this offseason, but he's got a 149 OPS plus on the season. With San Diego, I think it's a 167. In the month of August alone, he's got a 174 WRC plus. Julio's second. Like, this is just Padres, Mariners, WRC plus in August. Laureano at 174, Julio at 162, Ryan O'Hearn at 146, Josh Naylor at 127. It takes a little bit further to get down to Gino at 69, but nice. Like, Laureano and O'Hearn, Naylor and Gino, I think those four bats could play a very pivotal role. And I mean, that's what they were acquired for. Is you went out there and tried to bolster the offense in the best way that you can, and I think both of them both sides could pay big dividends in this series, but it's about limiting the hard contact, limiting runs, limiting those run scoring opportunities. And Castillo at home has done a really good job of that. You mentioned get to Sears, get to Cease. The Padres are the only team in all of baseball with a bullpen ERA below 3, and they added Mason Miller. They have Robert Suarez, Mason Miller, Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada. Wandy Peralta's having a great season. Like, they have Jason Adam, who has an ERA sub 2. There's 6 legitimate arms in the pen. There's 2 that are kind of spotty, but you're going to run into some problems if you get to the bullpen. And the Mariners, they've done a good job against opposing teams' bullpens in the past. This Padres bullpen feels like it is the final boss bullpen.
Yeah, it's the best bullpen in the game, in my opinion. And they went big last year, and they went even bigger this year with Mason Miller at the deadline. Last year, they went out and got, Tanner Scott? Mm-hmm. And obviously, he was the Shohei Ohtani neutralizer. And then this year, they went out and got Mason Miller, who's the everyone neutralizer. And you mentioned some of the guys that you think will be big in this series, and Gino's a great shout, because versus Dylan Cease, in 11 at-bats, he's hitting 364 with 2 home runs and 4 RBI. Feel pretty good about that one. Jorge Polanco in 20 at-bats is hitting 300 with a home run. You have Josh Naylor hitting 261. He doesn't have a home run off of him, but hit 261 and 23 ABs. And Randy hitting 222 and 9 ABs with a home run. So, hey, if these guys have seen, especially guys like Naylor and Polanco in the Central, they have seen the likes of Dylan Cease for quite a while now. Mm-hmm. In terms of the Padres versus Luis Castillo, Elias Diaz has a home run off of Luis, catcher, former Rocky, was an all-star last year. Like, sure, whatever. He's actually the only one in the lineup with a home run off of Castillo, which is surprising because Castillo was obviously in the National League. But a lot of these guys, I mean, Manny Machado's hitting 214 in 14 ABs. Ryan O'Hearn, 375 and 16 ABs. But overall, this is a matchup that I really like for the Mariners. On paper, it seems like if you don't see the numbers, it looks like it should be closer because it's Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
And we know how good he's been in the past. But with the way things are going this year, I think that you have to really rely on Luis in this one. But going into game 3, old friend Yu Darvish, right? Who you and I saw down at spring training, doing coming back from an injury, I think it was, on the Padres backfield.
Oh, right. I was like, what are you talking about? Yes.
Yeah. Going up against Brian Wu, who obviously is coming off a really strong 7 innings of 1 hit, 1 run ball. Wu on the year's 11-7 with a 2.94 and 160 strikeouts. And whoa, the Yu-Woo, the Woo-Yu, the Yu-Woo matchup.
Stop it. Don't get ahead of yourself. You're gonna get confused.
Yu Darvish is 3-3 with a 5.36 on the year. He hasn't really thrown that many innings. He only has 39 strikeouts. So, you hope that Yu Darvish doesn't kind of come back into form in this start, which is something that I could definitely see happening. Yeah. But yeah, I think that the Mariners once again have the starting pitcher matchup in this one. But again, every single game, the Padres have the reliever matchup.
Yeah, naturally. And it's about getting to the starter so that way the bullpen cannot win the game for the Padres. But we haven't really talked about have we mentioned Tatis's name?
No, we haven't.
That was the first time we'd said it.
Yeah.
Big player. I think Jackson Merrill's on the injured list, so that bodes well as far as the Mariners in terms of scary matchups or scary players to face. But the Padres, like the Mariners, have guys that can take over games and win games with one swing of the bat. And Tatis is definitely one of them. You mentioned Darvish. He's only made 9 starts, 43 2/3 innings on the season. In August, he's got a 4.05 ERA, so it's trending better compared to his 5.36 ERA on the season overall. But again, it's against Brian Wu at home. We've seen what Wu can do. What will Wu do for you? And it's send him packing because the Mariners are winning this game. They won the Vetter Cup already with the game 1 win as a guarantee. The Mariner Mojo stamp of approval. Bang. Bang.
Man, if they lose that game, we're in the cellar. We're in the gutter, bro.
Shocked.
Yeah, in game 3 versus Darvish, again, the Mariners have obviously seen him quite a bit. Nobody more than Eugenio Suarez, which I think that this is the most at-bats I've ever seen when we've done this against one single pitcher. Gino, in 36 at-bats, is hitting 250 with a home run and 5 RBI. And the only other person above in double digits is Luke Raley at 10 at-bats. He's hitting 500 with a home run. He's 5 for 10 with a home run versus Yu Darvish. Cal Raleigh in 8 at-bats hitting 250 with a home run. And Randy in 5 at-bats hitting 400 with a home run. Versus Brian Wu, again, obviously not a whole lot of at-bats versus Wu, but there are some in here. The person with the most at-bats versus Brian Wu is Gavin Sheets. He does have a home run, but he's hitting 143 in 7 at-bats. And then, now it's time to mention him. Fernando Tatis Jr. is 2 for 6 with 2 home runs and 2 RBIs.
Okay.
So look for Tatis in that game to maybe make a little bit of noise. You got to keep him subdued. You have to keep Tatis and Machado subdued in this series. That is kind of crucial. You can't let them be the guys to beat you. If it's Ryan O'Hearn, so be it. If Ryan O'Hearn beats you, so be it. If Ramon Laureano comes out there and continues his torrid stretch, so be it. Do not let it be Fernando Tatis or Manny Machado that beats you. Fun series versus the Padres coming up. It's going to be a big one, but we'll just have to wait and see how it goes for your Mariners in this one. We appreciate you guys watching episode 219 of the Hit It Here podcast presented by FanDuel, and go Mariners.